We the people tell the government what to do. It doesn't tell us. We the people are the driver. The government is the car. And we decide where it should go and by what route and how fast. Almost all the world's constitutions are documents in which governments tell the people what their privileges are.
Hey everyone, welcome once again to yet another episode of Two Noobs Talking. It is episode 60, and with me, of course, is my good buddy John Tracy tonight. John, how you doing, man?
Sir?
I'm Matt Craig, and again, just happy to be along for the ride. John, really, I think our overlay here, if you're watching us on YouTube, audio versions, you're missing out on this, but the overlay kind of says it all, right? You've got Concrete Charlie, the only number 60 that we really found within the city of Philadelphia, the only player that ever wore that.
Yeah, relevant.
Yeah, I mean,
and just so if you look down there, there's Frank Gifford right there. Yeah, just laying down.
I think he's at 1, 2,
exactly
3, 4. Yeah, it's pretty bad. But yeah, one of the greatest Eagle players ever. Canton Hall of Famer, of course, but Absolutely. One of the greatest Eagle players. Number 60 retired. And we'll get into him at the happy segment because I don't want to spoil anything.
No.
But yeah, that was the only one that we found. No one on the Flyers. No one really on the Sixers.
I think he's the only one that matters.
Really? Yeah.
You know, randomly someone's going to be like, oh, well, Todd McCullough probably wore 60 like for a minute or something for the Sixers. We'll find that, but yeah. I didn't find it, but you know what I mean? Like someone will pop up with something like that. Like
we didn't find it, yeah.
Close enough.
But 60 was synonymous with only one man, Concrete Charlie. And, of course, 1960, that's when the Eagles won the championship. It was interesting, John. I looked it up.
Mm-hmm.
The Eagles in the 60 season lost the first game of the season, but then won 9 in a row. And I think they went, like, in the last 2 games of the year, they went 1-1. So they finished with, like, an 11-2 record.
Nice.
Or a 12-2 record or something like that. Tops in their division, and they played the Green Bay Packers. Had home field advantage at Franklin Field. And, of course, they went on to win the NFL championship in 1960.
Oh, yeah.
That was the last championship. Before, of course, they won the Super Bowl in Super Bowl 52.
Yes.
So.
And Chuck's got 2 of them because he was drafted in 49 when they won previous. So he's got 2. He's got pretty much you'll see it. The last of the 60-minute men.
Yeah.
Winning in 60 was one of the coolest things ever.
Just one of the greatest, yeah.
Yeah, can't wait. Everybody probably has seen this video before, but this video is just great.
Oh, it's just awesome. Yeah, can't wait to share it. So why don't we dive right in, as we always do here on Two Noobs, and we're going to touch on this first topic, John. It's a Washington Post article, which we both found very interesting. Michael Flynn, who was at this quote-unquote Reawaken America tour in Tulsa, Oklahoma. He's basically calling for the country to adopt only one religion. And, of course, Washington Post being a little cheeky, an event that is a who's who of the new Christian right, end quote. And, of course, if you scroll through the article, it's John Hagee's church that was hosting this in Texas, and John Hagee's one of those guys you want to avoid, FYI. But, John, I want to kind of get your thoughts on this entire piece, since you brought it up to me. And
Yeah. It's cringy.
It is.
That's what my feeling on it. I don't have a ton of feeling because Matt will be more of our religious expert in this. I have tons of faith, but for just religion, I try to steer clear because of like what Matt was saying. There are pastors that you need to walk away from, But yeah, I'm a fan of Flynn too. Very, very, very distinguished military man. Very well spoken. I feel was very, very wrongly accused in his trial. I followed that very closely. I felt that he didn't do anything wrong. You know, blah blah blah. I like Michael Flynn. It's the one religion American, like Wake Up America tour. Just I get it. Like there are bad people and there are bad things. Like trust me, I'm on the conspiracy theory side. I believe the what we go one, we go all. I feel it. I understand it. It's very true.
Yeah.
You know, if one of us goes, we all go because we're the human race. But saying America needs one religion is just kind of like not.
Yeah.
Because everybody should have a right to choose who they believe in and what faith they have, what keeps them going. Nobody, whether right wing, left wing, or center, should tell anybody how they should live their lives, as long as they're living their lives righteously, being kind to others. You can tell someone they can't live their life if they're running around, hurting people all the time. Yeah, then us as a humanity should step into that person and be like, you're not wanted here. That's what jail's for. Mm-hmm. But if you're living your life humbly and with faith and you're doing right by others and taking care of your family and other people, nobody should have a right to tell you what to do. I don't feel good about that.
Yeah, that's always been the most difficult part, being a Christian living in a country where you are commanded by God to humbly submit to Jesus Christ as Savior and Lord. That is the only way out. That is very exclusive. And as not only just an American, but as, from a world perspective, it's very difficult because it takes, a lot of humility, a lot of realizations to say like, oh my gosh, I am really at this lowest point, but thank goodness there is this humongous lifeline to pull you out of the depths, to bring you to faith in Christ. That's huge. The challenge, though, I think with this, obviously, and you hit it right in the head, Johnny, the challenge really is, how do you do it in a country that is very pluralistic and has the phrase e pluribus unum, out of many one? Mm-hmm. Where Flynn, I think, goes off base is he takes that out of many one and says, okay, well, we got to only have one religion in order to unify everybody. Well, I mean, if you just look at the Protestant churches alone in the country, there are multiple different Protestant denominations. Not everybody agrees in the Christian faith on the Protestant side.
And that's okay.
And that's okay. But again, my point is, it doesn't fit what Flynn ultimately wants to do. Mm-hmm. And I think there's a different, whenever I hear somebody say something like this too, I get a sense that they're talking about a totally different God. They barely bring up Jesus Christ, so I think they have a totally different Jesus. And that to me is something you just kind of go, okay, I don't really want to go down this particular road, because I'm with you. I wouldn't want to be in a society where I have to kowtow to these people for, living a certain way. I mean, thank God we have the Bible, but at the same time, it's kind of like, I don't really want to go down this particular path where, it's like, we're not, otherwise it's a utopian vision here. And that's not.
No, absolutely. But that also is, just to bring my point kind of a little bit clearer, that's your right to make that decision. And it's everybody else's right to. I know Matt as a Christian well enough to know that he's not going to say something like that. What he believes in is not going to be pushed in that way. Yeah. It might be pushed in a way, if you would like to talk about it, Matt would be glad to speak about it with you. And that's what I've always thought religion was, and that's what I think religion should always be.
Yeah, it's always about, I always think of it equated to be like a link in the chain. You're not necessarily pulling or pushing somebody. Obviously, you don't want to push. Mm-hmm. You want to be that link in the chain to get somebody to think, hey, wait a minute, what's going on here? I've had that happen to me in my own personal, I guess you could say, testimony or walk, where God used certain different people to bring him closer to me, to bring me closer to him, ultimately. And it was just those individual little things. They weren't overly pushing. They were never confrontational, that kind of deal. Anybody that does it confrontationally, it's really just, I'm with any sort of atheist, to be perfectly honest. I make fun of them all the time. But the idea is to kind of get you thinking and go like, okay, well, wait a minute. What if this is true? What if this is true? What if this is true? And if it covers all your bases, then something's going on there. But again, where Flynn kind of good.
But that's your bases have to be covered. Yeah. Not one religion. You're not curtailing to the mob mentality.
Exactly. Exactly.
That's what I think it is in the end.
You have to make those interconnections all the way across the board.
Mm-hmm.
And where Flynn kind of goes off the rails, it's kind of just like, okay, he's tying himself with QAnon, he's tying himself with the CEO of My Pillow, he's tying himself with John Hagee, who's been a false prophet and false teacher for years and decades, who intentionally misquotes scripture, which you don't want to be a part of. He says here, we're going to stand in their way and we've got God on our side. Oh, really? Statements like that, it's kind of like, what's going on there? God bless you all. Thank you for being here. God wins, end quote. It's, well, yeah, we already know what's going to happen at the end of the day. But, you have to bring your enemies in to hear the good news. You can't just, the way that first sentence was phrased, you can't just, it's not your place to condemn. It's your place to herald the gospel. It's your place to talk about the good news, that kind of a thing. And I think what really separates this, I just wanted to kind of play this clip, Johnny. We'll just throw this up. This is Frank Reich, who's the head coach of the Indianapolis Colts. He was the offensive coordinator for the Philadelphia Eagles.
I don't do this often, but I just want to start out by saying something personal. Like I said, in 4 years, I think I've only done this one other time. But, some people know that our team has been using the metaphor of climbing Mount Everest to parallel our quest to make it to the top. And it doesn't take long to figure out that this metaphor doesn't merely apply to football. Rather, it can be a picture of the many challenges that we all face, right? We all face mountains that we're trying to climb. And so I just wanted to offer a word of encouragement really to anyone out there who's in the midst of a struggle. In particular, I'm thinking of a few friends who I know are going through some stuff. And I want to give a personal account to where I found my strength for the journey. The reason I'm doing that here and now is because almost 30 years ago, after a really big game right down the hall in a press conference, I shared the lyrics to a song that meant a lot to me, that really spoke to where I get my strength from. And the song's In Christ Alone, and it's written by Sean Craig. I'm not going to recite the whole song like I did in the locker room back in 1993, but I do want to just share a very small snippet of it that might encourage someone who's climbing their own mountain right now. It says this, the chorus says, in Christ alone I place my trust, and I find my glory in the power of the cross. In every victory, let it be said of me that my source of strength and my source of hope is Christ alone. And then there's one small snippet in the second verse, which is my favorite line, favorite lyric, says, I seek no greater honor than just to know him more. So even though it was almost 30 years ago when I read those words here in this stadium, this week I was reminded, Hebrews 13:8 says, Jesus Christ is the same yesterday, today, and forever. It's crazy, but we're here some 30 years later, not living in the past, but rather attempting to press on to what is ahead. So my encouragement is to keep climbing and to find the strength and power that you need in Jesus Christ.
Yeah, that says it all. And if you don't hear that out of your church, leave. That says it all right there, Johnny. I don't know what you're... Go ahead.
No, absolutely. But he's sharing his faith at the time he feels he needs to share it, and you can't take that away from him. And I think that's our biggest message. You can't. It's right because he's sharing his view of it.
Yeah, and it's really just, again, continuing to, you heard this, inferred, I heard it, really continuing to move forward and not to look back on the good old days and pine for what was good. In challenging times, you have to continue to press forward, always keeping your eyes fixed on him. So,
soft times create soft men, hard times create hard men.
That's right. That's
simple as that.
As simple as that. That's right. So that's our message for that first topic. So yeah, that was really good. John. But yeah, let's move on to another one of our very famous Fab 5 updates. And John,
He's back.
He's back.
The Joker found
Andrew
his way back.
Cuomo. We got another one. Newsmax article here. Probe finds overwhelming evidence of misconduct by Andrew Cuomo.
Yes.
It was overwhelming evidence that he did indeed sexually harass women and ordered state workers to help produce his book on pandemic leadership during work hours, John.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Which is definitely against the ethics committee that was going after him earlier in the year. So that's pretty much the ethics committee got him.
Yeah. It's amazing here as we continue to read on the article. Cuomo had promised state ethics officials that no state resources would be used on the book. The assembly, though, found something completely different. They found evidence the governor had his staff spend copious amounts of time on the project, on the book, indeed. So,
yeah, even worse, the Politico article you sent to me today.
Yeah.
Just showed how, just on the Cuomo thing, how brash he was, how he used 5,000 employees to take care of the mask mandate, and when they were trying to tell him that wasn't a good idea or that can't be done, he was just demonstrative and like you couldn't tell him what to do.
Or what to say. Yeah, exactly.
You couldn't be a part. Like, you didn't make decisions if you were in Cuomo's cabinet. He made the decisions. He's a bad human being.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt about that.
But they're pulling it all out now. Like, you're seeing it. You're seeing it.
Which is great to see. I mean, at the end of the day, this scumbag, it's another one of our examples where he clearly needs to be in jail in a straitjacket or whatever. But, it's just... it's just like...
He's a scumbag.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah. I don't even know what to even say about this guy anymore, other than I hope he goes away.
I mean, he just keeps popping up.
I know.
It's unbelievable. Yeah, so basically what this article is saying, that he's guilty for everything that we've been saying he's guilty for the last year and a half.
Yeah.
Like, between this article, the Newsmax article, and the Politico article... talks all about the nursing homes, talks all about his righteousness, the Emmy, that he was doing it all to be recognized, and he was doing it all the wrong way. That's my synopsis to both of those articles.
Give you a little bit on that Political article. I'll throw that in the show notes. Why not?
Please do.
Cuomo wanted to tout the number of tickets issued for non-compliance during his nationally televised news briefings, of which he did get an Emmy and then was retracted from. This former administrative official said, quote, he was like, you could just use them like an army, said the official. The governor's proposal, an impossible request, baffled the official, whose account was confirmed by another person familiar with the plan. But the official said the call ended and no one said no to him. No one could explain to him how bad the idea was. So can we talk about that real quick, Johnny?
Well, what he was doing is he was trying to use government officials to force business owners to, then that's what he means by you can use them as an army, to levy fines on these people, so these people became the aggressors. Yeah, they were the aggressors. It's literally out of the playbook of Adolf Hitler, and I'm not joking.
Oh, yeah.
Use the useful idiots
for
your bidding, so you don't look like you're doing the bidding. And I
don't mean how much of a great leader I am. Right?
Yes, and I don't mean that the restaurant owners are useful idiots. I'm saying it's in the play of, if you're a restaurant owner and I'm sitting here fining you tens and $20,000, you're probably, after like the first $10,000, going to be like, you can't come in my place without a mask or a vaccine passport. Or that's what he was trying to do. He was trying to create, and good on New York for fighting against it.
Yeah,
for fighting against they fought so hard. They made De Blasio and Cuomo fight.
Oh yeah,
there was infighting, which was good because that's what should happen.
No doubt about that.
When people stand up.
My only concern, though, was within his own administration. Did he had everybody by the balls, essentially, to kind of say, like,
no, he
you can't speak out against me, otherwise you're going to lose your job. If that's the case, can we throw this out? Like, if you know you're being wrongly accused, of doing something against what the governor's saying, can you not sue the guy? Can you not say I'm going to?
It's not in the old regime, maybe the new regime. Mm-hmm. Because what is this slimy person going to do? Like Cuomo, he's going to trump up charges on people, like he was trying to do the American people.
Or you at least have a whistleblower in there. I'm just saying, maybe there's.
But I mean, people need to step up and be more accountable. But sometimes when you get these tyrants, you can't be accountable. Like, what are you going to do? Yeah. They hold all the cards. Yeah. That's why people like this need to be out of office, like he is.
Oh, no question.
And this is moving forward. People like this need to be out of office.
Mm-hmm. No,
because it's not their way. No, it's our way. We run this place.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
The American people run this place.
No doubt.
The politicians don't run this place. Joe Biden doesn't run this place.
Yeah.
Joe Biden just likes to babble and talk about stuff. He doesn't run anything.
Exactly. Exactly right.
He doesn't even run his own diapers. Come on.
Exactly.
He said he was going to go back for re-election. He's going to be like 177 when he gets reelected.
I know. Oh my gosh. Just terrible.
Get out of here.
Yeah, but it's just like, I mean, it's great that this is now coming more to light. My hope is, John, to your point, I really would love to see not necessarily more of it to happen, but when it does happen, it gets
quicker in the news.
Much quicker, yeah.
I want the old news back.
Yes.
I want the old news back. I want those guys that, are on the ground that come to us.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And be like, you know what? This guy's dirty. Let's go get him. And then we go get him. I'm not saying that in violence. I'm saying that in the polls and the
pressure gets mounted.
The pressure, because don't think for a minute that those polls that they're asking you to fill out politically aren't important. You could put pressure on a guy. A year before the election.
Oh yeah.
If you disagree, make sure you find all the people that disagree, and then make sure you fill that out, because when they get that piece of paper in their email and they're like, "Oh man, you're down 28 points," they're going to rethink their strategy. They're going to have to. We already watched the Virginia governor didn't rethink his strategy, and now he isn't the governor of Virginia. And the media wants to blame it on a red wave. It's not. It's that he's an idiot and he doesn't have a job anymore.
Exactly.
It's his fault. It has nothing to do with. It has nothing to do with Republicans or Democrats. Dude's a moron and he doesn't have a job anymore.
Yeah, exactly. He did not get. You're talking about McAuliffe, of course, in Virginia. But yeah, it's like it really is amazing to see. Again, when you take that, not necessarily that you want the power, but when you know something's wrong, you go and you get it. You know what I mean, Johnny? You go after it.
You take back the power. This is the whole, we were talking about this yesterday when we were talking. It's about going back to when the senators used to be appointed. If they did a bad job, whoop, you just come back.
Yeah.
That's our job now. The government made that our job, that if someone's doing a bad job politically, our job. We have to recognize it. But that also comes with the media has to help us. Because the media used to work for the people. Now they work for the corporations.
Yeah.
They need to start working for the people again.
Yeah, exactly.
That's where the power is. Whoever has the media is in power.
That's where you have to have that reform in the media. Who, what, where, why, when, right? At the end of the day. I made that point on Thanksgiving night. By the way, I had a really good Thanksgiving dinner. I don't know about you.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. We had a wonderful one.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Me and Matt didn't even talk on Thanksgiving, which is rare. But I'm glad you had a wonderful one with your family. I love your family. I love you. So I'm glad you had a great Thanksgiving.
Right back at you, man. Right back at you. I mean, I made these like really good mini muffins. They were like kind of sweet potato biscuits with a little bit of pecan in it. It's really good. It was really good.
I will admit right now, I did nothing but watch Gotham while my wife made an amazing meal, and I feel bad about it, but she didn't want me anywhere near me.
No, did you at least clean the dishes? I mean, you have to.
No, I literally did nothing. It was totally like this wonderful thing. I got into this TV series, and I spent all day laying around watching the TV series, but it was just amazing. She wanted to do it also.
That's awesome.
I would have been handcuffed to the bed if I said no. I'm just telling you. So I just did it on my own accord.
That's awesome.
I just stayed in my zone.
This is a very interesting couple of bullet point articles that we pulled up here. First one is with the Daily Caller. As quickly as the FDA provided the approval for the Pfizer vaccine,
my head.
within 100 days, right? They got this done.
Yep.
Data pertaining to the approval will now take close to 40 years, I think. It's 2022. No,
2076. Yeah,
2076, when I am 100 years old, which
oh wow. Well,
I don't know if I'm going to make it, but Lord,
I think you might. I think you might, just because the FDA is messing with you, and you're going to wait until that day.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe I'll do Two Noobs Talking at episode 1745. Who knows?
50,022.
But yeah, apparently I was reading through this. The agency had determined. Now get this, John. There are a total of 329,000 pages that would need to be reviewed in order to fulfill the plaintiff's Freedom of Information Act request. They would propose that they would be able to process and produce the non-exempt portions of responsive records at a rate of 500 pages per month. So you kind of do the math, 54 years. John, this is so ridiculous.
This is the biggest bunch of bullshit ever. 500 pages a month. They're only going to read. You can't hire 4 people. You're the FDA. For God's sake, you can't have 4 people to peer review and get. You could cut.
How does it have 329,000 pages? That's what I'd like to know.
I'm okay if it has that many pages. Get more people to read it. That's all I'm saying. No, I could read 500 pages in a day.
It was funny.
If I needed to get something done, we could easily read 500 pages in a day.
Well, the FDA has said that really, in order to expedite the request, in a 4-month time frame, they would have to read 80,000 pages per month.
They're lying.
Well, if you did the math, which we're not necessarily good at.
They're lying. They're lying. They're lying. There's no way.
All hands on deck, 80,000 pages. Just say like 80,000 people, 1 page per day. I think that's, you get 1 page per person. Break that up. Meet together. Why
can't you have 8 people read 1,000? If it's their job, how many letters can you read in a day? In an 8-hour shift.
It's crazy. It's crazy. I mean, I didn't realize it was 300. It blew my mind when I saw that.
I know, but they're just making shit up.
Pages.
They're making shit up because they don't want you to know.
Yeah.
That's all that is.
Yeah.
That's malarkey is what that is.
It also gets better, John, because
I know.
The CDC, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention.
These guys.
Yeah. In response to a Freedom of Information Act request, the Centers for Disease and Control and Prevention said it has no record of an individual previously infected with COVID becoming reinfected or transmitting the virus to others because the agency doesn't collect that data.
Of course they wouldn't.
Bump.
Of course they wouldn't, because then they'd have to produce the data.
Well,
why not just not collect it? Makes sense, right? If you don't want to deal with the problem, just don't do it.
Yeah, exactly. And it was interesting because we had some, there were some studies that were done and have been done ongoing. We actually did reach out to Doc Page.
We're working on some stuff for this.
Yeah, it really is amazing in that regard. He said to us, basically, that one of them was a Cleveland Clinic study that he read through. He didn't have a lot to comment on it, but all I could say is that one of the biggest questions is quoted directly from him. All I can say is that one of the biggest questions is how immune are you after getting COVID? That study is interesting, but it doesn't really prove or disprove much yet. It is a small piece of info to better help answer that question, which definitely will need to be answered. But he then goes on to say and tell us there have been some great advancements recently in treatment and overall knowledge.
Yeah.
Fortunately, it doesn't look like it's going to go away, talking about COVID. It's going to be around just like the flu.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay.
But we need to keep
up.
We need to keep up. But he's absolutely right. We need to keep up on these studies, and we need to we need to keep this data.
Yes.
If it's a lesson to anything, not the shit on the CDC for not doing it, but people of power need to learn that maybe that's a thing for the next thing, being prepared for the next thing. Maybe that's something that they should look into, because if they don't do it now, they're doing people a disservice. Now we learned from our mistake and we can move forward. That was kind of what I brought out of this article. Okay, well, so they screwed the pooch on it. That's fine. We don't expect much from the CDC. So, is what it is. But moving forward, maybe the CDC wants to put that in their terms of service.
You would think, yeah, exactly.
We're going to gather this information because it might be important.
Talking about lessons learned, I think this is a great lesson learned. That kind of a deal. So
you can see why we got into a pandemic from the stupidity of these organizations.
Oh, no question.
You totally can see how we got to pandemic level. Like, quoting Alex again from the episode we had, that it was completely mismanaged in the beginning.
Totally.
This is just re-information of that.
Well, and I think that the utter lack of preparedness is really what blew my mind. Like, no one ever thought about this. Like, nobody.
Well, Bill Gates did.
Well,
but he's not a doctor, so
yeah, they just run all kinds of weird simulations anyway to begin with.
But that's what I'm saying. But he was the only one ever talking about this.
Yeah.
Like, the World Health Organization wasn't talking about this, even though it's funded very heavily by Bill Gates. The CDC wasn't like they weren't really heavy into the wash your hands kind of. Remember when we were kids? Like, there was a lot of like wash your hands, wash your face, make sure you get like taking care of yourself. Blah, 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 like that kind of stuff. Like, that was when we were around when we were kids, but it kind of disappeared. Nobody was talking about it. And what happens when they're not focusing on that? Boom.
Yeah, it's really amazing when you have that, Johnny. It's like when that gets pushed back to the forefront, and you would think that the common sense would be the right thing to do.
Technically, does it go back to people like Fauci that just were ignoring that because they were doing their idiotic experiments other places? Probably, most likely, but we can't prove it. But well, we can with Fauci, but
yeah,
he's guilty as all hell. But I'm sure there are people like Fauci that are guilty as hell too.
Yeah. Well, there's also one little bit of information too. I'll throw this in here in the final part of the topic. But CDC's 6 foot social distancing rule, right? Everybody thinking you gotta stay 6 feet apart. There's no way. Former FDA Commissioner Dr. Scott Gottlieb on CBS Face the Nation said that basically that was an arbitrary figure, John. 6 feet apart, arbitrary. Your thoughts?
Well, Fauci said it was the same way. And this is more of the bullshit, because they were saying it's the same thing why you couldn't sing Christmas carols, because you'd be spitting on people. Like, they made it bigger than it was.
Yeah.
When they had no idea what it was.
Exactly. And
that's all that is. That's all him saying that is a smug-ass way of saying we had no idea.
Forbes article here, and again, we'll link this to our show notes. Key facts. They have a subject line here on key facts. The 6 foot rule, Gottlieb said, was a compromise. A compromise, John.
Yeah.
Between the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention.
Let me guess, they wanted 11 feet.
They wanted 10. They recommended 10 feet initially. 10. And an unnamed political appointee in the Trump administration who called 10 feet, quote, inoperable, end quote.
Well, yeah, because Walmart said it was inoperable, because if everybody stayed 10 feet apart, the whole the line would go to the back of the store.
So they split the baby in half, and they said 6 feet apart. That's perfect.
This is what idiot humans do. I'll take the legs, you take the arms, pull until we get somewhere.
Many people assume the rule traces to some old studies on the flu, which found droplets won't travel further than 6 feet, Gottlieb said.
No,
the research has since shown that COVID can be spread through aerosols, which have the potential to travel many times further than droplets. John,
so when you this thing, it's their fault for being stupid.
The very
everybody's stupid, but the normal people.
Yeah.
That's basically what this segment's all about. They're just dumb. They just make shit up. It literally proves that the government just makes shit up.
up.
When they don't have an answer, they just fucking make it up. That's what they do.
They compromise and they say, you know what? Okay, inoperable at 10 feet. How about 6? Well, that makes sense. And it's like, really? I mean, are you just like...
So let's just do an exercise, Matt, because we like to have fun with this. So we're gonna change our screen size, right? So
Ooh.
Matt, I want our screen size to be 2 inches. So you're gonna be 2 inches on this side. I'm gonna be 2 inches on this side, and there's gonna be a whole lot in the middle and over. What do you think about that? What do you think the screen size should be?
I don't know, John. I would really like to be further away from you because I think the spittle that you come out. So
I understand.
You know,
So what we'll do is we'll put.
6.
So you say 6, so we'll do 4, but then we'll put you on top of me. We'll call it a day. Look, we can run for government positions.
Done. Finished.
Yeah, we don't need.
Unbelievable.
We don't need their help.
Unbelievable. I cannot.
They're stupid.
But it doesn't surprise me too. Like the administrative state, to your point, the administrative state just goes and just okay. Well, the fact that they wanted 10, that was the thing that really. When I just read that, I was just like, "Are you kidding me?" 10 feet apart. I mean, that's ridiculous. That is so ludicrous. I can remember too, like we were thinking, like last year, we were thinking about, I was thinking about doing the Old Man's Winter Classic with my buddy Steve.
Yeah.
And they were adamant 6 feet apart.
Yeah.
Like on the benches. On the benches.
Well, that's a little hard because that's only like 24 feet long.
Pretty much, yeah. So it was like you'd have 4 people on the bench and everybody else would be standing around the rink.
You have to make a circle.
That's like, no, we're not doing that. You know, it's like, what are you going to do? Like, the instinct as a hockey player is to go to the bench anyway on a line change. You're not going to go off the bench.
I'm gonna, COVID or not, I'm going to get to the boards. I'm going to fall onto the bench. Because obviously you're playing and you're breathing really heavy. I said this the other night, just as a hockey analogy to understand why Matt didn't do that.
Yeah.
When you play hockey, if you haven't played hockey, if you did play hockey, you'll understand it. If you haven't played hockey, here's how to explain it. Yeah. You literally come back to the bench having a heart attack every time because it's just the way your heart goes. You need to slow yourself down immediately. Sitting down's the worst thing to do in hockey. Yeah. But that's what we were trained to do, so that's what we do. But sitting down's the worst thing.
Actually, I don't mind sitting down on the bench. It's just a matter of really bending over. Because when you bend over, that's the worst. Because then it's like you start to really, like, that's the one thing you don't want to do when you're on the bench. Because you want that oxygen to come back. But, to your point, you want to lower that heart rate a little bit. That's why... Yeah, you always try and get like at least 2 lines, if not 3. Yeah, so that way you're able to recover instead of having to go back out there
much quicker.
Yeah, exactly. But 10 feet apart. Oh my gosh, that just blows my mind, John. But it doesn't surprise me coming from the administrative state. Does not surprise me.
Bizarre.
Well, John, as we move on here to topic number 4, we got a Reuters article here, and this is very interesting because I do believe we are basically what I like to call ourselves, we are pilling ourselves to death, meaning that we are taking way too
much
prescription drugs.
We definitely are.
Well, a U.S. jury found this, that that all of the pharmacy chains, CVS.
This is in Ohio.
Yeah, CVS, Walgreens, Walmart, they helped to fuel an opioid epidemic in 2 Ohio counties in the first trial the companies have faced over the U.S. drug crisis. So they continually fed people opioids in the middle of this. This is amazing. 6 days of deliberations concluded that actions by the pharmacy chains helped create a public nuisance that resulted in an oversupply of addictive pain pills and a diversion of those opioids to the black market. Yeah, opioids is a very interesting scenario.
It's funny that that in that lawsuit they said into the black market. So they were not just selling them in their pharmacies. They were kicking them. They were kicking them out back door.
So I'll share a little thing here personally, John. I remember when I was having my wisdom teeth removed, and I go in for the first X-ray, and my mouth was a mess. I basically had one wisdom tooth had broken, and pretty much the nerves were pretty much shot and dead. But the dentist was like, okay, well, you've got to get on these pills in order to, just essentially combat the pain so you're able to eat. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
So he gave me opioids, and I think it was within the first night I took them, and they knocked me out, man. I was KO'd. I mean, I felt okay, but it was like I was knocked out like I had never been knocked out before. I mean, it was really, really bad. Imagine doing something like that every single day to combat pain medication. Oh my gosh.
I mean, I kind of understand where if you were listening to this and you suffer from that, trust me, I get it.
Yep.
It's very easy to fall into that. I fortunately have not, but I know people that have, and it's tough. So, but there's a way out of it. And to be honest, there's a way out of it if these companies aren't helping. And this isn't the only state that I'm sure this lawsuit's going to pop up. I'm sure we'll see this a couple more times.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they were found guilty because they're guilty. They were guilty of pushing it out the back door just as much as they were pushing out the front door. So they were making insurance money and they were also making other money.
Mm-hmm. I will say this, though, in the article further on, CVS, Walgreens, and Walmart said that they would appeal. They basically are arguing that it ran contrary to facts and that it misapplied public nuisance law to hold them liable under a novel legal theory that courts in California and Oklahoma have recently rejected in similar cases against drug makers. This is a really troubling sentence here. U.S. officials have said that by 2019, the health crisis led to nearly 500,000 opioid overdose deaths.
Yeah, it's a fucking problem. Yeah,
it's a big time problem. Yeah, yeah.
And I mean, if the lawsuit sticks, the lawsuit sticks. But at least, like, we gotta bring it. Like, it gotta bring it out. Like, I've lost many friends
over this. Yeah, I bet. Yeah. It's hard because it's like, what do you do in a situation where the pain is so bad?
There's not much you can do.
Yeah.
Especially, it's a doctor's responsibility and it's your personal responsibility, but it's also, I mean, the drug companies I'm sure most doctors would agree with this and most drug salesmen would agree with this, that there's money behind it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what? It's the way of the world, but it's also like we need to take personal responsibility to help people. And if they were doing it knowingly, then they should probably be held accountable. Like these pharmaceutical companies need to be held accountable.
Yeah, oh, sure, absolutely.
If they're doing it knowingly, even if they're doing it now that they know, they need to be held accountable. If they're still doing it.
Yeah.
Kind of what Trump said when he lowered those drug prices. He said there were a lot of people could probably kill him.
Yeah.
When he lowered those, because there's a lot of money out of people's pockets.
Exactly. It's
a very money-driven business.
It is. No question. Big Pharma's, they're not called Big Pharma for a reason.
Yeah, exactly. They didn't get that nickname because they were bad at their job.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you start to see that a little bit too with the Merck COVID pill.
Yep.
And that's now under FDA. It's going to be close to getting FDA approval. Who knows if it's going to be, there's going to be a 400,000 page study.
Yes.
You never know.
But they also just said today that it was, they just found out that it was a little less effective than they thought it was going to be. So they don't even know what's going on.
Yeah.
So, this is how it goes.
You got to take 6 pills. It's like twice, 2 pills, for breakfast, 2 pills for lunch, 2 pills for dinner. And it's like, So
if my allergy medicine or any of my vitamins that I take, if they told me to take it more than once a day, I would find them completely full of shit immediately. I'm just gonna say that. Literally, I'm just gonna say that. There was one my wife put me on this really good vitamin. I can't remember what it's called, but it's 1 pill a day. But the one before, she was like, "This is 2 pills a day," and I was like, "I don't want that." Because that's not how my brain works. You know what I mean? Like, no, it's 1 pill in the morning. I go to work. I'm fine. Like, I took my vitamin. 2, like, what the hell? Like, I don't want that. Like, I immediately, not that it is full of shit, but my bullshit radar went off.
Yeah.
As soon as you said 2 pills, I was like, wait a minute.
Red flag. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not playing these games. I don't take much medicine. That's the whole. If people don't know me, I do not take Tylenol for headaches. I rarely take Dayquil if I have the flu, maybe like 1 or 2 doses in a week span of having the flu. I only take like a leave maybe if my arm feels like it's gonna fall off. Like other than that, like I do not like taking medication for anything.
Yeah, I would agree with that completely with me as well, John. I mean, it's been a long time since I've really been sick, thankfully, by the good grace of the good Lord. But every once in a while there'll be a pain in the left arm because it, broke it during high school soccer, and there'd be a little bit of arthritis. So every once in a while, for me, it's not a leave, but it's Advil. I found that to be very effective for me.
Awesome.
But I don't take it every day, thank the Lord God. I take it only when it bothers me a little bit, that kind of a deal. And it's
absolutely
like, okay, it's fine.
But I just wanted to make sure that everybody, like, I'm not like up here preaching. I don't take medicine.
Oh, sure.
So I'm very suspect about medicine.
But again, it goes all to the point of like, this is a major, major problem. It has been a major problem for the country for years, and it really needs to be. There needs to be a better way. I think
this is the thing. Other than COVID, and I think this was my biggest fight all along. This is the shit the administrative state should be working on, not COVID.
Yeah.
Fix it, because you can fix these problems with government regulations. You can fix opioid problems. You can fix car accidents. You can fix lung cancer from cigarette companies by taxing and putting regulations on these companies to make them held more accountable. But instead, previous administration and this administration want to put bullshit on you about COVID and put the screws to you, but they're not fixing these problems. And I think that's what aggravates me most about the whole thing. Because we could fix these problems administratively easy.
Yeah. It's a matter of just understanding the problem, taking it to task.
And I'm not talking about the war on drugs, because that's a bunch of malarkey. I mean, actually having a war on drugs. Like, literal war on drugs. Like, you could do that.
Well, John.
Not the fake one.
We have finally hit our happy segment, and we are really, really stoked for this. As we mentioned at the very top of this episode, it's Concrete Charlie. It's episode 60. And this guy was an absolute living legend of the city of Philadelphia. Not only grew up in Bethlehem, but was went to the University of Penn, drafted by the Eagles. And,
let's introduce this way. So this is his granddaughter who worked for NFL Films when he passed. So she did this documentary for him. Yeah. And she tells everything. It's just amazing. I just want to share it with everybody.
Yeah, 6-minute clip. So let's go ahead and play it.
You may have heard of my grandfather. They called him Concrete Charlie. I just called him Pop-Up. He passed away this spring at the age of 89 while I was an intern at NFL Films. I had always heard the family stories about him, but it wasn't until I looked at his past that I saw for myself what a full life he had lived. That's him in 1986, in his hometown, Bethlehem, Pennsylvania.
Puts it two. Come here. Puts it two. Come here.
That's his mother, Mary Bednarik, my great-grandmother.
Look at here, there, you're on television.
No.
Tony Turobia, Asia.
No, please. Well, he was tough. And he went to school, lots of kids wanted to fight him. And they told me, and I told him like that, don't hit him first. But if he hit you, anybody hit you first, give it to him. Give him a good one.
I never met her, but I see where it all came from.
That's what I said, give him a good one.
The toughness. It's probably what made him a 3-sport star in high school and helped him survive World War II.
I was an aerial gunner on a B-24 Liberator, and I survived 30 bombing missions over Germany.
After the war, he was offered a football scholarship to the University of Pennsylvania, where he became the answer to this trivia question. Who was the only Ivy Leaguer ever taken number 1 overall in the NFL draft?
I was shocked that they picked me. Did I have aspirations of playing professional football? No. I knew the Eagles were in town. There was a professional football team. That's how it all began.
With the Eagles, Pop-Pop's hard-nosed style of play quickly gave him a reputation for toughness. A reputation that, to be honest, he really enjoyed.
There was a kind of an animal instinct. This is the way you go after them. You're frothing from the mouth.
I know it sounds politically incorrect,
Get him. Kill.
but Pop-Up loved to exaggerate for effect.
Certainly, I don't mean you want to kill a person. You'd like to knock his jock off. You just say, kill him. Kill him.
One thing that spoke for themselves were his hands.
From the look of your hands, football was a rough game.
You know, I got a crooked finger, and my finger was dislocated down around a 20-yard line. And see, that's 180 degrees.
I remember those hands playing the accordion as he sang Slovakian folk songs to my grandmother Emma. Those same hands held many different grandchildren, not to mention several cats. Even the story of his famous nickname, Concrete Charlie, belied his tough guy image. We in the family knew it didn't come from any sledgehammer hit.
I met some guy who worked for the Warner Concrete Company and asked me if I was interested in selling concrete. Well, I lasted 20 years selling ready-mix concrete, and that's how I got the nickname Concrete Charlie, which I like very much. I love the name Concrete Charlie.
Perhaps the only thing he loved more than being Concrete Charlie was telling the story of his most famous play.
The tackle that I made on Frank Gifford, the clock is running down. I'd say 35, 40 seconds to play. And we're ahead 14-10. They're driving. Gifford swings out of the backfield. Here he is coming across the field, looking at the ball, down and in, down and in. They're dangerous. That's like a Volkswagen going down a one-way street, and a Mack truck is coming the opposite way. He went backwards, and the ball flew in the air. Chuck Weber fell on it. I had no idea where Frank Gifford was when I turned around, and I said these exact words: "This game is over, over." Some cameraman went click. He got me standing over him.
They say that photo is one of the most famous in NFL history. But as bad as it looks for Mr. Gifford, I know Pop-Pop liked him quite a bit.
Frank's a good friend of mine. As a matter of fact, we're standing together for a function, and he said, "I made you famous, didn't I?" I said, "Yeah, I guess you did, Frank."
They say with that one hit, he became a mythical figure. And even more so for what happened later that season in the 1960 NFL Championship game. At the age of 35, he earned a second nickname, the last of the 60-minute men, by playing every snap on both offense and defense, including the game-saving tackle that clinched the title.
What an electrifying finish. This'll be it. Stars back to throw. He takes time. He throws over the middle. I had him right here in my sight, and I made sure I knocked him down to the ground, and I could see the clock up there going 8, 7. He's squirming to get the heck off of it. When I saw 0, I looked down at him. I said, "You can get up now."
The game's over. The game's over. The Eagles are the champions of the world. Listen.
Since then, the number 60 has always had special significance in Philadelphia. It was in 1960 that the greatest player in team history, number 60, Chuck Bednarik, the last of the 60-minute men, led the Eagles to their last NFL championship.
Chills are running up and down my spine, Johnny. Great stuff. Great stuff. What are your thoughts on Chuck, on Concrete Chuck, John?
Well, I know I know that he had some falling outs before with the now organization, but Mine just growing up, just with my grandfather and my father. Like he was the last of the 60-minute men. Like there was nobody like him. So yeah, it's a great puff piece. Life needs more puff pieces, and that was probably the greatest puff piece because it's done by his granddaughter. This is beautiful. Like as soon as we were coming up on 60. I was badgering Matt for weeks. I'm like, we're doing Concrete Charlie. We're doing Concrete Charlie. That's all we're doing. We're just doing Concrete Charlie. Like,
I totally had forgotten that you were right. There was a little bit of a falling out. I think probably during the Bremen years more than anything else when he owned the team. Like he didn't care for anything about the alumni.
Yeah, and then Laurie, there was a little bit, but then like Andy brought him back.
Yeah.
So that was good. There's some great stuff in that. We'll put that whole YouTube clip. There's like another 3 minutes of Chip Kelly and Andy Reid talking about their relationship with him.
Yeah.
Which they had a great relationship because they brought him back into the team, which was good until his death in 2015, which, you know.
Yeah, it's really amazing. Just an amazing career. And
an Air Force
Eagles, man. I mean, come on, you know.
And he was in World War II, so he's one of the guys that we talk about all the time.
Yeah.
He's one of the We're never going to forget these guys. I don't care if we got to bring them up for football, we got to bring them up for baseball, we got to bring them up for, saving a puppy. I don't care. We're going to keep them alive as long as we can.
One of my favorite quotes that he had made, I think it was something like he was being interviewed by Angelo.
Mm-hmm.
And Dion was playing. And, he's prancing all over the place, and Chuck was just like, if he ever came across the middle, I would deck him so hard.
The only advice
only Concrete Charlie.
The only advice I would give the Concrete Charlie is you probably couldn't catch him. He was a far better athlete than you.
He probably was. Exactly. Yeah.
But I do know in it's funny you brought that up. I do know in later interviews, Dion, as a commentator, actually met him later on, and they were fast friends because they had that same like killer instinct on the field. Yeah. So it was funny because I remember that when he was talking to Angelo about that, and I remember years later seeing an ESPN piece where Dion was like, "Yeah, me and Concrete Charlie had like blah 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 whatever." Like it was a conversation, but they were like they became fast friends.
Isn't that amazing? Yeah, it's just awesome, and it's such a great ambassador for Eagles when he was alive and everything. And everybody loved him. And
yeah, his book is good too. I read his book years ago. I didn't
realize he read a book.
Yeah, he wrote a book. I think that was what the contention with Laurie and the Eagles was. But yeah, he did write a book. I found it to be very, very interesting because it was a bygone era when I read it. It was a bygone era that I knew nothing about because I wasn't alive during it, told by one of the major players.
That's awesome. So real quick, before we get out of here, John, if we had to do a top 5 Eagles of all time.
Well, that's an interesting question.
Is Chuck Bednarik in your top 5?
Oh, God, there's Jerome and Reggie.
Yeah.
They got to be 1, 2. Doc's got to be 3.
Mm-hmm.
Man, there were so many. There were so many. I don't want to put Donovan on there, but Donovan's got to go on there. He's got to be at least 4. And then you could put him on there, but you also got Van Bjorn. You got got
Westbrook in there.
You got so many. So I'll say it like this. I'll say it as PC as I can. Like he might not be top 5 all-time players, but he's at least top 5 all-time personalities.
There you go. I think that's a good way to put it. If it was the same question were asked of me, Doc 1, Randall 2, Reggie 3, I probably would put Jerome 4.
Yeah.
And I think I'd have to put Bednarik 5, even though I never saw him play.
Probably just sentimental because he was,
product of a bygone era, and it's like you have to respect what those men did to build up the NFL. So I'd throw him in there.
I don't think put him on a list or keeping him off a list does him any disrespect because he's still getting talked about.
Yeah. Exactly.
And that's the best. That's the most important and the best part.
Yeah.
to keep him in the memory.
What do you think, Frank? Are you up? Come on. 5, 6, 7, 8. I don't think he's got enough, John.
Frank made plenty of money. You don't need to worry about Frank.
Exactly. So that's it. Episode 60. John, I think we did Chuck a pretty good service. I think
so.
I think
so. Yeah, I hope everybody liked the overlay.
Yeah, it's awesome. I love it. I think we should do it more often.
We're gonna try.
Do something along those lines, maybe. But yeah, it's just awesome to be able to talk with you as always. But let's hit them up with our shameless plugs before we get the heck out of here.
So let's do socials. We're Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Short videos that will try to entice you to check out our
main YouTube channel, of course, and that is the Two Noobs Talking Podcast. We would love it, of course, if you would like, share, and subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell to let you know when new episodes drop. Then, of course, on the audio side, we're proudly hosted by Podbean, but that gets us out to
Apple.
There you go.
And then iHeart should jump in here. And then Google Podcast might slide in.
Okay.
That is our audios. We're on a bunch of other things too, so just Google us.
There you go.
We're Googleable, so you can play us on anything. Just don't play us on Anchor or Spotify because they both suck.
Oh, John, it's back.
Throw it away.
Okay. There we go. All right, it's out of here.
Kobe! There you go.
There you go. And our show notes, of course. We got a lot of show notes this week. Very fascinating articles we obviously talked about. You can find them at twonoobstalking.wordpress.com. And links, of course, to all of our articles are there. You can sign up to get the copy of the show notes if you'd like. Enter in your email address and hit enter, and the show notes show up in your inbox the very next day. That's it, Johnny. Episode 60's in the can, brother. As we move on to 61, anything final to say before we get out of here?
Boy, do we have a couple surprises for you guys. 61, 62 are going to be fun.
There you go. Until then, talk to y'all next week, guys. Take care.
If you don't read the newspaper, you're uninformed. If you do read it, you're misinformed. That's a great question. What is the long-term effect of too much information? One of the effects is the need to be first, not even to be true.